Well, I said we were going to have like a little catch up beforehand, but we might as well just like.
This is a catch up, mate, isn't it? We roll.
This is a catch up, yeah.
We've got our coffees on.
I'm on the decaf now.
How long have you not had caffeine for?
I've not had caffeine. It's over 2 months now, and when is it? I've got it in my diary. On the 4th of March, it will be 3 months.
Wow, man.
So 2 weeks on Friday.
How do you feel different?
Well, do you remember I told you I had these muscle twitches?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the main driver for it. But, I mean, take a step back from that. It was analysing those muscle twitches. I was like, maybe it's anxiety. You know, it was brought on by releasing another album. So, you know what that's like. But obviously during a pandemic and all the rest of it. So that was pretty... Yeah. And I had it for a year. So I was like, I need to try and take back some kind of control. So I decided to do that, and because I kind of pinpointed that it must be anxiety, and I was like, well, what triggers my anxiety, or what makes me more anxious, and that's out of my control, if you know what I mean, or what's triggering it, I guess. And I thought, well, coffee is definitely one of those things that if I have too many, I'm a bit like,
you're on edge, aren't you?
And it's weird, isn't it? Because there's this little golden moment, isn't there, when you have sort of super caffeinated coffee or whatever it is, where you're like, oh,
yeah.
You know, you can't see my hands, but you know, you're on the laptop and you're like, I'm getting it done. I'm on
it today.
Yeah.
But then an hour in, you're like, oh,
yeah,
I need another one, and then the afternoon is an absolute, yeah. My limit is if I have 3 or over,
yeah,
I get really twitchy and really not well, actually. You know.
Yes. Well, it's so that okay. So here's the interesting thing. I've done 2 months without caffeine.
Is that including tea as well? So
I'm not having tea. I'm not having tea or coffee. I have had. I will own up to it on this podcast that I have had dark chocolate, which I do know has got caffeine in, but it's not
very slight, right? It's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really looked at exactly the level of content, caffeine content.
More mind blowing.
Like, I need some coffee. I mean, I need some.
I can't believe you've not had a Yorkshire brew.
Oh, mate,
have you not had
really
a brew?
Hard.
Man? Like what? That no. I wouldn't be able to go without that.
Not for a northerner like you.
No, just a cup of tea, mate.
I know. What's the harm in it?
What's the harm in it? Very difficult one. Wow. Fair play to you.
Thanks. I mean,
is it something that you're going to stick with, or?
Well, the good news is, as soon as I stopped drinking caffeine, within 2 weeks, my muscle twitches reduced. You know, I was getting it in my eye constantly, basically. You know, and I was like, bloody hell, this is really doing my head in. And then it started in my other eye. Then I had it all across my body. So I was like, this is really weird. And I went to the doctors, did all the tests and all that kind of stuff, and everything came back fine. So that's the good news. And to answer your question, like, how do I feel and if I've changed, I definitely feel way more level. Like throughout the day, my energy levels, basically. And that was really interesting because coming back to your thing about like three's my limit. If I have more than that, then I feel unwell. And I felt that with 2. But I was like, isn't that kind of weird that we ingest something that for the first 2 it's all right.
Yeah.
But the third one is like, well, no, I wouldn't go there. It's like, hang on a second. Is this stuff good for us?
I know.
But then we do that with a lot of things, don't we?
And also, what I do as well, this is my first coffee of the day, but we do it on the stove, so it's always espresso, and I'm always making the big one. Francesca's away at the minute, but I always make 2 people worth, and I count that as one. So really, I've got that much espresso in my coffee cup right now.
That is strong.
So actually, yeah, I mean, it's probably 3 coffees actually.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because
So
of
then,
espresso.
right, so if I say 3 of those, then
Yeah.
that's like 9.
So 12 is your limit, really.
That's not all right, is it?
Well, it's good you're not buying it from your local barista in London, because that would cost you an arm and a leg.
Damn right, mate. Damn right. No, it's just the Lavazza way, mate. Just the Italian way. Bang
Well,
on.
I'll tell you what, next time I see you, what does it say in your mug?
This is the day your life will surely change.
Oh, well. Oh, is that the? That's interesting. God, we synchronised sipping our coffees there.
Yeah, damn right.
This decaf is amazing.
Is it?
You know, yeah, man. It's like you get, obviously you don't get the kind of kick of the caffeine, and there's definitely a taste, slight difference, especially when you're. I mean, I was really into coffee, so. But this is definitely filling that void, and it's more of the ritual of getting up in the morning and brewing it, and yeah, just having that moment to myself with my coffee is what I really missed. But it's doing a good job.
And you can get good decaf coffee, and essentially that's all you kind of after, isn't it? Really, the craft part of it, and if you don't need the caffeine. I think we tell ourselves maybe that we do need it.
Yeah,
but we tell ourselves a lot of things.
Well, I was speaking to a friend of mine, and she's just had a baby, and she hasn't had caffeine for maybe, I think it's like 4 or 5 years or something. Maybe it's not as long as that, but she was saying how interesting it was having a baby and going and running on so much lack of sleep, but not reaching for caffeine. And she found it interesting. You know, she remembers herself, as it were, when she used to reach for that caffeine to kind of give her a pick me up and that kind of thing, but wasn't doing that during the period of having like 3 hours sleep with the baby and all that kind of stuff. She was just amazed at where your energy actually comes from, you know, because if you're not getting it because it's a mental thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it stimulates you, but the kind of the mental decision to choose something to give you a pick me up is also a comfort, thinking, oh, this will help me. Yeah. So when that's taken away, it's like, oh, okay, so where is my energy coming from, and how do I find more if I need it? You know,
we've all got a reserve tank, haven't we? I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, you certainly do.
I do, mate. I do.
It's funny because that quote or that mug, I mean, that could easily be a Tom Brigth quote. Is that from the song?
It's from This Is the Day, isn't it? This is the day your life will surely change.
Right. Well, I must hold my hands up and say I'm not actually well versed in the. I know. You're associated with them. It's
a great tune, that one is.
There is one song that I remember getting really into, which I've forgotten, which has an amazing drum pattern in it.
Was it Giant that you got into?
Oh yeah. I think that's the one.
Wasn't it? It's like a 9-minute track.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. They're an interesting band.
They were lyrically ahead of the time that they were, and you know, Matt's a top guy, so yeah, man.
But that quote, bringing it back to Mr. Tom Brigth here, because I feel like you've got such a I'm not here to just like you know, sort of blow smoke up your ass here, but I'm going to just a little bit.
We both know that
you're a guest on the podcast. That's what I have to do.
I get an hour of sun blowing smoke on my ass.
That's what it's all about. I've got to make you feel comfortable, make you feel welcome. It's all rubbish, but Yeah, no, I feel like you have an amazing energy to you, and I'm always amazed at how much you are doing, get done, a lust for life, um, and yeah. I guess my question to you is, where do you think that comes from, and how do you get so much done?
Well, I, you know what? I'm going to wind it back to like just last year when we were doing the pod together and kind of
Oh yeah, sorry, yes.
exploring things about ourselves, like character traits and stuff.
Mm,
And you know, for the first time in my life, I kind of sort of looked at things a little differently. The you know the bad things about my character, what I kind of told myself were bad, and then I kind of tried to work on that, this kind of workaholic nature. And over the last few months, probably say actually over the last kind of 8 months, I've really made peace with just the fact that, you know, I am a bit of a workaholic, but it's not like a, it's not a bad thing. Like I don't do sitting around very well.
yeah.
I find peace in like getting things done and also kind of having a, not only giving myself like a fulfilled, meaningful day in life, but like because I work a lot with people, whether it be communicating with, I work with a lot of people, and like with the nights that I put on and stuff, it's always like having a positive impact on someone's life, and I think that that's like the most rewarding thing
Mm.
possible. But I'll wind it back even further. To, to answer your question, there are major factors in the way I see life, and I do maybe see life differently to most. You know, a lot of us get caught up in, and I do as well. We all have moments where we get caught up in the little things that, in the grand scheme of things, are absolutely meaningless. But for that day, it feels like the whole world revolves around that. But every I see life as this big ball of opportunity, you know, and waking up, opening your eyes, smelling the fresh air. It's just like everything is a miracle. Everything, not one thing, but everything around you is miraculous. Like, and if you can find the beauty in everything, you really are, you're onto a winner. You know my story, and I will talk about it. So, you know,
Yeah, go for it,
I
man.
wasn't very well. I wasn't very well when I was a kid. Um, I was very, very ill, horrendously ill. I was born in Germany, and my stomach wasn't attached to anything. You know this story, but people don't.
Mm.
And after 6 months on a life support machine out there, and with the doctors not really knowing what to do, um, the military flew me in a private jet below the clouds to Great Ormond Street Hospital, London, where Professor Spitz took on my case. He was the professor that had just split the Siamese twins for the first time. And yeah, so it turned out I had something called tracheoesophageal fistula. So my esophagus is only this long. Now, my stomach was attached to nothing, and that creates obvious, endless problems. Very long story short, and after a few, quick deaths here and there, and 30 major operations, stomach is now situated here, and yeah, I've just been incredibly lucky to make it out of that. Even though growing up I wasn't in particularly great health, and that kind of went on till I was probably about 14, 15, because I'd had my chest opened up 5 times, so severe chest damage. And yeah, but I kind of, instead of taking the like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, because I'm going to talk about this as a rule of life, I guess. I could have easily taken the victim route, and I could easily not be working now on anything and blaming my illness, or because I have bad days physically. If I have to get up and go for a walk to clear my chest, because when I've laid down in bed, I used to have to lie down on bricks because one of my lungs is so damaged that they were almost going to chop half of it away, because the bottom of the right lung is really in a terrible state. But yeah, I just use it as pure fire in the belly, really. Fire in the belly air.
I was going to say.
Gets a bit hot. Starts burning my hair. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't change anything, but it's definitely given me this viewpoint and this lust for existence, and we're just all so lucky to be getting this chance, and whatever you do with that, well, that's great. But I mean, it's just a good thing, isn't it, life?
It is a good thing, yeah. And I think it's good to remind ourselves of basically all of what you've just said, because the duality of it is that life is also, it's like a struggle, isn't it? It's like
life is pain, mate.
Yeah, life is pain, but it's also a miracle. So it's always about the yin and the yang, isn't it? So if you can keep those things in balance, it's like, or acceptance of that, then it's like, okay, well then let's make the most of it.
It is, and bad things happen always, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, every day is good, because no, that's fantasy world. You're going to have bad days, but if you can kind of find that balance and go, that the best part of it is brilliant. So just enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, how did that translate into your creative life? Because I know, so you've got your second album came out last year, Legacy. Yep. First album, Self-Service Checkout, came out 2019.
2020, year before.
It was 2020, was it?
2 pandemic albums, mate. I needed a pandemic to make me release music.
Well, you'll be hitting the press with this one, and I'm sure it'll be at the Royal Albert Hall for you after this one.
Let's see, mate. Let's see. That's where I'm heading. Where we're heading.
Where we're heading, all right, yeah. Double header. Because I do know that because we know each other for some time, we've done all sorts of things together, haven't we?
We have, mate.
How did that lust for life take you into becoming a songwriter?
Okay, so I wasn't musical at all, really, growing up. I grew up in Derbyshire, and I was quite a naughty boy, really, at times. And then at the age of 18, an opportunity came up to take over the local pub. Me, my mum, and my brother. My mum was a nurse and was been a nurse for 46 years, and she continued to um, do nursing and run the pub with me. And the idea was that I would kind of do a year to get it off the ground and go off to university and study English and maybe train to be a teacher. That was the idea. And yeah, I took to the pub industry like a duck to water. Really, I became obsessed by the job and looking after the beer. And the main thing was just the communication with people. You know, you really are. You become a doctor, a mate, a therapist, shoulder to cry on. You, what you learn behind the bar when you're there 24/7 is, yeah, I mean, it's some education. And we were there for 4.5 years, nearly 5 years. Did a great job through some very difficult times. We moved in 2007 which was a 2007 kind of recession. Really, it was tough times. But we made a really good business there. Got it in the good beer guide and stuff. But then I remember I was 22, and I just felt like I just had this thing burning away in me, like this is not the be all and end all. You know, there's more to your life than this. And it was a Sunday. The pub was absolutely packed. I looked over the beer garden. It was absolutely rammed. And me, my mum, and her partner at the time, and my brother, I think, we were sat having lunch upstairs. And I just said, out of the blue, really, I just said, I think that we should sell the business. And to most people, when you're flying high, you know, like, why? We've put the hard yards in now. We're reaping the rewards. And I just thought, no, now is the time. You go out on a high, you know, and you kind of, and we really did. And by deciding there and then to do that, it was a very quick sale. It was done and dusted in 2 weeks. We had loads of interest. A deal that I kind of negotiated myself really with someone. And I started playing the guitar. I started playing the guitar. I became obsessed by it. One thing led to another. My mum actually booked a one-way ticket to Sydney, Australia for me, because I think she could see that I was going to just jump into another pub job or something, and you know, and then at that kind of time, you know, that would have been my career choice, maybe. And yeah, got to Australia, and I just I had a year out there on my own, writing songs, playing my first gigs, busking, meeting people from all over the world. I formed a band out there. We did some shows and met some people that, you know, kind of changed the course of my life, really. And I came back a year later. I moved straight to London with my guitar and a backpack still packed. And then the London adventure started, and you know that well, what that entails, and countless restaurant and cafe jobs, and countless open mic nights, and you know, countless financial struggles, and and mental health struggles and everything else that comes with it. But yeah, now in London for 9 years, and kind of really, I don't know, when you get to your kind of when you hit a few years of self-employment in the music world, you've kind of learned the art of the hustle and the you just start to find your groove, don't you? And I feel like I'm in it now. I'm kind of going into some important years.
It is possible, isn't it? I think that's, for any young singer-songwriters out there, or anybody that wants to be an artist, really, I think that it's, I don't know, it's strange, isn't it? Because you can go and, both of us didn't study at university to be musicians.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't go to university at all. Did you?
Me neither. No.
But yeah, I know on pretty good advice that you don't really get taught the hard graft. I mean, you get taught that it's hard, but you don't get taught that actually you might need to have 3 different streams of income, or you might need to diversify, or I think there's quite a route one thing, which is like you're either a session player or you're an artist, and it's going to be hard either way, kind of thing. But it is possible, but you do have to kind of like see it slightly differently, I guess.
I think you've got like the business acumen in you as well. Like you've got to, if you're doing it the DIY route, and you're kind of, you are your own boss and everything else. You've got to have your head screwed on, and it is a pain game. And if people think that it's a couple of years of work and then it's all plain sailing, then well, no. I mean, can you imagine at the start of your music career, if like you looked at a piece of paper and everything that you had to go through was written down for that zero money that you were going to get, you'd go, no, I'm all right, mate, I'm going to go and be a lawyer. I mean, you wouldn't, would you? Most wouldn't, but then we live a great life doing what we do. It's brilliant, but you wouldn't do anything else now. And I feel very blessed to do.
Definitely. I think the thing you can't put a value on, and it's the thing that drives me personally, and I think that you mentioned it earlier, which is that connection that you have to people.
Yeah.
And I know that you work in different ways as well, don't you, in terms of like management, promotion, and that kind of thing as well, which is a slightly different connection, but it's still that same connection to people, isn't it? The thing that bonds you in that way.
Exactly, with the acts that I kind of manage, that is almost coming at it from a coaching perspective, and with the nights that I put on, all these guys that I see myself as the early 20s going out playing whatever night you could, and you're able to give them a bit of a pep talk and a bit of a like positive kind of encouragement. And we all know how important that is when you're because it's very easy at that stage to just throw the towel in.
Yeah, and I think also
take too many hours on at the cafe that you're working in, or whatever.
Yes. Oh man, when I was living in London, I was definitely working way more and neglecting my art in that way.
Me too.
And it's I'm so happy that I've kind of slimmed down my outgoing so that I can actually spend a few more days a week, just putting more time into my creativity, because it just makes me feel, way more happier, and I get a lot more out of it.
Yeah, and you have to trust that, what is it? Money flows where focus goes. And I mean, not that we get a lot of money out of what we do, but we get serious rewards on many other levels. And so you really do need to as much time as you possibly can on the creative. You need to shed off as much as, and I've been there. And last year I set up that radio station, and that was draining, to be honest. As good as it was.
Are you still connected with that now? Or?
No. I left that just before the new album came out, and before the tour started in November. I really kind of made a decision that going into that album coming out and the tour, and then going into this year, the absolute main focus was anything related to me, Tom Brigth, writing and making records. Because you just get pulled too many directions, and
yeah, definitely,
you just get annoyed with yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely someone that I need to focus. If I need to get something done, I need to focus on one thing really. But you definitely seem somebody that is able to kind of manage a few things and then focus on the one thing that you need to get done.
I can, and I'm organised. The diary helps.
The paper diary.
Paper diary, absolutely. That's my everything. That is. But being really regimented with time and waking up early. I'll get up at 6:30. I'll go for my walk in the morning, silent walk. That's my kind of where I get just have a chat with myself and, figure out my day. And then, you just go, right, that is the amount of time I'm going to do on that. And then you just block out,
everything else.
Everything out, like the rest of your day. Or sometimes you switch it around and because you have a lot of energy in the morning, I'll just go, right, I'm literally going to do me till 2, then lunch, and then do some other bits 3 o'clock onwards.
Yeah.
You can get a lot. You can get so much done in a day, though. You
can, actually. Yeah, definitely. It sometimes feels the opposite.
But I know, and those days come, and also you just got to allow that as well, I've started seeing other things as well, like taking time to just sit and read a book. That is work as well, because you really need to, for what we do, and really for what actually anyone, reading, you're feeding your brain and you're making your day better. And I absolutely love just sitting down, reading, and you almost immediately, after reading something that sticks with you, just like, okay, now I want to go and write a song now.
Well, yeah. That's interesting, because that brings me on to your approach to songwriting, because I feel like apart from the wonderful melodies, catchy melodies that you write, the lyrics are like, when I listen to a Tom Brigth album, it's like someone slowly kind of like knitting a kind of like lyrical jumper around me, and then I'm kind of in this world. And it really is, for me, when I listen to your stuff, it's the lyrics that are just like constantly kind of pulling me into this depth of narrative and story. And I wonder, where that kind of lyrical desire, love for lyrics came from with you.
The only thing I was ever good at in school was English literature. It was and drama. I was great at drama.
Yeah, I can tell that.
Anything else, it was ungradable or E.
Or football as well.
I wasn't great, mate. I was all right, but I could do 45 minutes, mate, and then my lung would be...
We won't talk about Derby, don't worry.
Well, I mean, maybe... a miracle could be on the cards, Sam.
Yeah.
But, words. I've always I've always been fascinated by the power of words. You know, if you use words in a certain way, the impact you can really have, or, you know, the story that you can create, or the landscape you can create, and you can really like drop someone in somewhere they're so unfamiliar with, and, you know, you look around and you'll live in the world. And when you're writing a song, you can create a whole world in 3 minutes. Yeah, and when I started writing songs, I kind of I realized that I was like, wow, every song you write is like a book. You know, it really is like a little kind of world in itself. And so, like any songwriter, you try and work on that craft more and more and more. And I think the first album was very kind of quite observational, character based, and then second album was more, I guess, maybe a bit philosophical, really. You know, and looking at the world through my eyes. The third album, which I'm you know, writing and about to record, is about the wonderment of life and the world. I think the album's going to be called Remarkable Things.
Nice.
But again, getting back to the lyrics, I loved reading. English literature was the only thing I was good at. I felt like I've always been good at like speaking and publicly kind of speaking, and that, yeah, it's just this unexplainable love of the power of words. And then when you find songwriting, it's like you find your tongue and ability to tell your stories, or tell any story that you want to tell. But yeah, my songs are, you know, everyone says that the lyric is the main thing, and that is my aim, really. They're kind of all very poetic. That, you know, I really work hard on the lyrical thing, and if something is really not on point or doesn't totally fit, then I won't go with it, and I'll work hard to make sure that everything flows perfectly and metaphorically, and yeah. And this new album, this third one, is going to be really even more of an extension on the new album, on the last album.
Are you recording that with Ed Hardcore again?
Doing it with Ed again, yeah.
Nice.
So that'll be 3 albums with Ed. So yeah, we've just got a good thing going on, you know. And when you find that connection with a, you know, producer, it's you know,
yeah,
got to go with it, you know.
Have you got any sort of ideas for the production of this, into like the kind of remarkable things element? You know, does that come into play?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, every day I'm listening to like after I get back from my walk, I'm listening to a record just to kind of coax up some production ideas. And this morning I've been listening to Richard Hawley,
nice.
Ladies Bridge, and you know, that kind of really like orchestral, romantic, beautiful, comfortable sound, you know. Kind of croony, but I'm not going to go croony on it, but it will go in a different direction. I don't want to. I mean, album 1 was very stripped back. Album 2 was, you know, it was pretty raw, but there was a bit more production wise. This third one is going to be more production heavy.
Okay, cool.
There's less tracks, and they're going to require a bit more padding out, really, in terms of just sonically and
Is that because they're
musically.
longer, the tracks?
All of the songs are 3.5 minutes, but there's only 9 of them.
Okay.
So it's like a
Yeah.
29-minute album.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
And so yeah, so I'm just gonna, instead of like going wham bam, there's a track, wham bam, 4 done in a day. I think even though we are going to do it in 3 days,
Yeah.
It is going to be a case of like allowing a bit more time to get it. We're going to get some trumpets going on. We're going to get some more stuff
Get
going
Nick on it.
Yeah, Nick is actually doing it. Yeah,
Is he? Yeah.
Nick's on it, mate. Yeah,
Send him my love.
I will. So Nick's on, and yeah, and Geach will be doing strings, and I quite like taking it to. I've got an electric guitar now, so I'm gonna get some electric going on there, and yeah, bolster up a bit.
I'm excited for you, Tom. Was that?
I'll send you some demos.
I'd love to hear, actually, mate. And
I'll send you a
do
few.
the same.
Oh, please do, mate.
What is the? Was that a considered choice then, the 9 tracks, or was that you just given yourself a certain time in January to write the album? You're like, right, that's it.
Well, kind of what I'm thinking of doing, because there's the 9, and they were banged out in a matter of like 3 weeks. And then I did kind of like that idea of going, right, well, that is it. End of January, job done, 9-track album. I think what we might do is we might do an instrumental track that will be situated slap bang in the middle of the record.
Nice.
And it will kind of take you from side A to B.
Yeah.
So me and Ed will work on that. And also, I've got a guy, Ed Cozen's, coming here next week. He's in Reverend and the Makers.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a great solo artist himself. And we're doing a co-write session next week. And you never know. We might write something that just slots on, and it might end up being an 11-track album.
Yeah.
You know? So the door isn't closed, but if it is a 9-track record, I'm also happy. I quite like that. Like, I was thinking, it is 9 tracks too short, but there's loads of great 9-track albums.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also, if you feel like you've said what you wanted to say.
It does right now as it stands. You know, I almost write them in chronological order, so I know where I want to start, and I know where I want to go, and I know where I want it to end. And right now it is bookended. It really is like.
How did that happen then, though? How did you know this was going to be? How did you know you were going to write an album about wonder and remarkable things? Was that set out from the start, or did a song come out that kind of gave you that lens, if you will?
It was a song. It was a song that came out. It was a song that I wrote, and then it kind of created the whole theme, you know. And I thought, you know, and it was around the time of when I started working on some ideas. My nephew had been born, and that kind of whole, like, you know, brought another new life, and you kind of want to teach them and guide them and go, yeah, you've got a great, here we go.
Yeah.
Fasten yourself in. Enjoy it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's I can't wait to get it done. You know, it's awesome, isn't it, when you're recording and going at it with an open mind and a blank canvas.
Did that, once you'd written that song, then did it? How did that inform the rest of the songs, if you know what I mean? Or did it? Or was it like? How did you then go after looking for those little nuggets, those little remarkable things? What was that
the
process?
First one the first one written was called Remarkable Things, and then very quickly after, I wrote a song called Be a Miracle, and so then it was like, well, there's going to be a running theme here.
Yeah, nice.
And yeah, and some of the songs will venture off into different territories, but there will be that kind of underlying kind of life journey that runs throughout, and yeah, and we'll see what happens, and maybe it'll come out if we get it down, and I'd like to get the first single out at the end of this year, and then kind of get the record out maybe early next year.
Because you're still self-releasing, independent artist.
Yeah, and you know what, mate, I don't really see a reason to change that. I'll be honest. I think if there's something that you don't necessarily need nowadays, it is that kind of label support. I think it's better to have a couple of personnel on your side that you trust in and believe in you, and then you can kind of pull up trees on your own, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's you certainly need certain people along the way to help you.
Yeah, you do, and you need people that you can trust, and you know, someone who's going to be straight with you, and you know, tell you as it is. And a publisher helps, obviously, when it comes to you know, just a bit of the royalty collection side, and you know, I've self-managed for years now, and you know, it's worked. I'm never going to close the door on getting more people involved and stuff, but yeah, if it ain't broken, don't fix it, really.
Yeah, definitely. How was the tour, your first headline UK tour?
It was awesome. It was really wicked. Great.
I was there in Bristol.
You were on the stage.
I did come up on the stage. Yeah.
For ropes that we wrote together.
Yeah, man, we did. We need to do that as well. We did say, didn't we?
We need to get some sessions in, mate.
It'd be great. I really would love to bang out like an EP together.
Let's do it. Because we've already got, was it 2 or 3 other songs? Butterfly, Alibi.
Oh yeah.
There's a few, mate.
There's a few B-sides of mine that my patrons keep nagging me to release, and maybe we can make them into a...
Well, let's get the dates in. Let's do it. Let's get the...
All right.
Brookes and Brigth. We'll do a quick, you know, like 3-4 days, thrash it out.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be an album, does it? It could be like 5-6 track.
That's what
album,
I was thinking.
EP.
Yeah.
Do a few shows. Great, mate.
But yeah, go on.
That'd be cool, actually, doing because we could both do solo sets, and then we could do Brookes and Brigth set, where it's like 5-6 songs.
Well, I guess the nice thing is because we're both singer-songwriters, we could also intertwine what we do together in a way. You know, playing, you know, you could play a Brigth song,
actually,
a Brookes song, and then we could finish with the songs that we wrote together. You know, accompanying each other.
That's a great idea. 2 seats on a stage, alternating. Oh, yeah. It's almost like a songwriter.
The thing is, you know, now that we're saying this is going on a podcast. You know, there's a few people who I won't embarrass, but they know who they are, who will be like, "Oh yeah, okay, you're doing that then." Fans that we share.
Damn right. Well,
good friends.
We've got to do it now, then. We've got to do it now.
But yeah, it was a success, and it's quite scary, isn't it, going out on your first headline tour? Because you're a bit like, is anybody going to come?
It was. I felt the pressure. I was stressing my brain out. I was really like, you know, because you toured at the same time, and it was it was not easy. You know, people broke, and we were asking a lot of people. Not only financially were people crippled, but you know, people were still not fully comfortable with the COVID stuff, and you know, but saying, I mean, it's always brilliant. You know, most of the shows we sold out. The Lexington, close to sellouts at all the others. It was awesome. And then just did Celtic Connections in Glasgow
Oh yeah.
2 weeks ago, which was brilliant as well. I've never been to Glasgow, and that's the amazing thing. You go to these cities that you've never been in your life, and people come and they buy tickets, and I don't think I'm ever gonna like stop feeling that kind of like mind blown, like basically in Glasgow. And it really, what I think it was like 4 or 5 people off a sellout. It was an amazing turnout and a great vibe. Glasgow is a special place, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's great.
Wow, loved it. And like I was just about to go on the stage, and I went upstairs. It was at the Hug and Pine.
Oh yeah.
And I knew that a few people were there for the gig, and I went up to them and I was like, I'm gonna play in 5 minutes, just so you know. And they're like, are you Tom Bright? And they're like, well, we've been listening to you for 2 years since we heard you on Six Music. And then I went to another couple and said the same. They're like, are you Tom Bright?
No.
And I was like, what? And
Oh.
people came because they'd heard me on Spotify playlist, and people had heard me on Guy Garvey's show and stuff. And then it's just a moment. You're like, oh, maybe I don't need to go and tell people that I'm going on the stage anymore.
Go on, look, I'll even pay for you to come in.
I know. Here's
Give you a free CD. Yeah.
CD.
Well, Tom, I'm so happy for you, man, because
Cheers,
I don't
man.
know anybody that hasn't worked as hard as you have, and you deserve it. It's awesome.
It's the yard. But I tell you what, I was looking through the CD collection this morning, and I was taken back to our first meet. Your first album,
Wow.
mate.
Look at that. I haven't aged too badly, have I?
No, you look great.
11 years ago.
Yeah, man.
Oh, what does it say on the back?
Yeah, your hair looks better now as well, to be honest.
Oh, thanks. You
Says
talk
me.
to my mum.
To
Get your
Tom.
haircut.
To Tom, thanks for buying the album and good luck with the music. Sam Brooks.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, man. 8 tracks on that album.
Oh, there you go, mate. What are you worried about 9?
You know what I mean? There you go.
I didn't even realise that.
8 tracks. I reckon
Wow.
you've done 8, 9 or 10 and you were like, I'm knackered.
No. We did actually. There were there were 3, 4 other tracks, I think, that we wrote for that record that didn't make that record. But yeah, I released "Breathe Me In." That was like my first ever single that I released in 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
So 11 years, man.
Yeah, it's 10-year anniversary last year, that record.
So cool. And mate, kudos to you. You are, I mean, you've been an inspiration for me, and we've become very, close mates. And but also, you're a great songwriter. You've got an amazing voice. You're a wonderful human, and you're a great role model for people to, you've carved a career out. What I don't think people realize, it starts with an idea, and then you build a career out of it.
Yeah.
And even if you do get a little leg up here and there, it's all down to yourself.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So you've nailed it, mate. And the world waits in anticipation for your many albums of the future.
Oh,
I'm
bless
sure
you,
you've got quite a few in that locker room, mate.
I think I do.
Double figures, mate. Definitely. You have.
Well, at your rate, I mean, you'll be overtaking me soon.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. 3rd album, get it out.
I'll slow you down by making a record with you. There you go.
There we go. Let's do that. And the good thing is we can both count it as our records as well.
Yeah. Well, listen, Tom, I don't want to take up, too much of your time.
It's a pleasure, mate. It's a pleasure.
Thank you well, we should do this again.
Defos.
Thank you so much for giving me your time. It's so great to chat, and I know we've known each other for a long time, but it's great to kind of the interesting thing about doing these podcasts. I've done them with people that I know really well, people that I don't know that well, but you just get to reconnect with how it is that you know that person, and reconnect with them in that way. So it's been wonderful.
Well, it's great, mate, and thanks for inviting me on and letting me talk about myself for an hour.